The chapter consists of two stories, one of a bird and the second of a pilot. The bird is too scared to fly even for food, whereas the pilot is daring enough to fly even in the worst of the weather. The Seagull family consists of 6 members: mother, father, 3 sons and 1 daughter. All of them except the youngest son are expert in flying high. His parents have tried several times to teach him how to fly, but he is scared to do that and does not want to try anymore. He relies on the food that his parents bring back from their flights. His first flight, written by Liam OH Hearty, is a story of a young seagull who is afraid of flying. A family of seagulls lived on a ledge. A young seagull is left alone as he is afraid to fly and is one among the slow learners. All that this young seagull needed was motivation. His first flight highlights the importance of independence, self-belief, confidence, and need for motivation to attain goals. Necessity is always the mother of invention, but sometimes needs an initial spark from outside. The story is also a metaphorical assertion that everyone needs to be independent even while staying involved in family life. But the joy of independence is not meant for cowards. From an educator's point of view, his first flight showed how tactfully impart motivation. The parents of the seagull had tried to cajole and threaten him in different ways, but blew away. The mother knew well that the trick was to arouse his need, and she eventually lures him out with food, to his momentary horror and then great joy. The young seagull was alone on his cliff. Realizing his madness for food, his mother tried to motivate him. His 2 brothers and his sister had already learned to fly. The young seagull was afraid to fly for fish, which he loved to eat because of the long stretch and depth of the sea. The sight maddened the young seagull. Then he thought that his wings will not support him. His mother flew nearer to him, which filled young seagull with fear, and he ran back to his hole on the ledge. 24 hours passed and nobody came near him. All the day the young seagull watched his parents teaching his brothers and sister how to fly. The whole family taunted the young seagull for his cowardice. Realizing his madness for the food, his mother tried to tempt him with pieces of fish. Initially, she tore the fish in the manner the young seagull loved to eat. This sight maddened the young seagull. Then the mother flew nearer to him, which filled young seagull with joy. However, the mother stopped near the edge of the ledge. Out of excitement and hunger, the young seagull ran towards the mother and dived for the fish. Realizing his madness for the food, his mother tried to. Initially, the seagull was scared and screamed with fear when he dived. But soon he felt his wings spread outwards and he began to fly slowly, downwards and upwards. He was no longer afraid of flying, and it was the mother's effort that the coward seagull became confident enough to fly to his freedom. As the young seagull landed on the green sea, his legs sank into it. He tried to fly again, but he was tired and weak with hunger. Finally, his feet sank into the green sea, his belly touched it, and he was floating on it. The family members praised him and offered him pieces of dogfish, as he had finally made his first flight. His first flight conveys the message that self-reliance is very important, and parents should encourage their children to have strong self-belief. They should know that in order to overcome fear, the only thing we need to fear is fear itself. The mother seagull persuades the young one to get him to learn flying. This finally makes the baby seagull take the plunge, and he flaps his wings to fly away freely and independently. In fact, the mother seemed to be well aware of the Chinese proverb, "Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime." And why? She might have even heard of Franklin D. Roosevelt's maxim, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." Let us now read the second story, The Black Aeroplane, where the pilot takes a daring decision to fly through the clouds just to have breakfast with his family. The narrator, Frederick Forsryth, was a professional pilot. He was flying his old Dakota airplane over France back to England. He was happy. The narrator was quite a family man. He was dreaming of his holidays. He was looking forward to being with his family. He wanted to be in time for breakfast. The narrator seemed to lack his professional ethics and responsibilities. He was about 150 kilometers away from Paris when the storm clouds appeared in the sky. He didn't have enough petrol to fly around them to the north or south. Actually, he ignored his professional wisdom. He ought to have gone back to Paris. The narrator was a grateful human being. He was grateful to the pilot of the Black Aeroplane for saving his life. He went to the Paris control to ask who was the other pilot who saved his life. The narrator was flying his old Dakota airplane over France back to England at night. The sky was clear and moon was shining. He was dreaming of his holiday and looking forward to be with his family. It was 1:30 in the morning. He called the Paris control to get instructed about the way. Paris control advised him to turn 12 degrees west. When the narrator reached 150 kilometers beyond Paris, he suddenly saw huge storm clouds in front of him. He knew that it was not possible to fly up and over the clouds. He also did not have enough fuel to go around the clouds. First he thought of going back to Paris. However, the thought of breakfast with his family made him determined to fly through the clouds. The narrator decided to take the risk and flew into the storm, but everything went out of control. He was unable to see because everything outside was pure black. The aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. His compass stopped working. He tried to contact the Paris control for directions, but his radio had stopped working. Consequently, he was totally lost in the storm. Luckily, he saw another black aeroplane near him. The pilot in Black Aeroplane raised his hand and signaled the narrator to follow him. The narrator followed the Black Aeroplane for about half an hour. Now, he could only fly the plane for 5 or 10 minutes. He felt frightened again. But suddenly he saw 2 straight lines of light ahead of him on the ground. They were the lights of the airport's runway. He was able to land safely, which gave him a sigh of relief. After landing, the narrator went to the control center of the airport. He asked the woman in control center about the mysterious plane. However, the woman told him that there was no other plane flying except his on such a stormy night. The narrator was surprised at this. He wondered who had helped him. The story conveys the message that courage is guided by faith. The pilot of the Dakota plane was an experienced flyer, but he panicked when he got engulfed by the black storm. Still, he kept trying to reach to safety with the help of guiding instruments in his plane. When all the instruments too got jammed, he suddenly found a mysterious black plane that guided him. It was perhaps the pilot's courage that gave him faith, and he managed to find his way out of the storm. So faith is very important to guide courage in the proper direction. The story also gives the message that one must never give up in the face of adverse times. Difficulty should be taken by the horns, and who should not